have always drawn and always made art. When I had my first oil painting kit when I was 8. But by the time I got to high school, grade 8, I just didn't think I was good enough. So I didn't take it, and then tried to take it later, and I was already on that pathway, and the school just wouldn't allow me to change. So it was very different in school then.
When you started actually creating art and maybe selling art, what was the catalyst or the reason behind doing that?
Yeah, that's when I went back to university and I did a Bachelor of Education, because I did a diploma of teaching, and then you had to teach for a couple of years before you could get your bachelor. So when I went back to do that, I had a lot of electives, and I chose all my electives in art.
So how did you teach yourself? Was there parts of the university courses that actually taught you how to create art, or were you actively trying to learn yourself? Were you doing workshops?
No. Yeah, no, that was a really good start. I did they were university lecturers, and they came and worked with the teaching students, but there would have been other students in there as well. We were mostly adult students, and it was mostly after work at that time. I had done a TAFE course in photography, so it's interesting that I must have been really interested just to learn different things at that time. I'm talking about when I was my early 20s, before I had children. So I did painting and drawing. I did, I remember a very strict watercolourist lecturer, and then I remember people who actually took me through the whole process, the art, and that was, I can't even remember the lecturer's name, but she was amazing. And there was no internet, so she showed us films of artists and artists talking, and we had to do a visual diary. I was hopeless. I had no idea what a visual diary was. And I did ceramics, and the young man that taught us ceramics was a baker, and he used to bring in bread that he'd baked for us. And it was just, I took 10 years to do that degree, and the reason I took 10 years is because I didn't want to stop. So I just kept pulling it down, like one subject at a time. I didn't want to let go of the kiln that I had access to, all of the printmaking studio that I had access to. So I went back and I was teaching part-time, and I had children at home, and I was doing this, and it was just 10 years, and it was just lovely.
After you've done all that learning, how do you decide what medium then you want to sort of focus on? Or are you someone who just flicks between all different medium, and what are you now just focusing on materials and medium wise?
Yeah, so I don't start with the focus. I start with what I want to say. What I want to say, and what's the best way of saying that. Sometimes it's going to be ceramics, sometimes it's going to be photography, sometimes it's going to be, mostly it's painting. I try to do things that I like to do. So I really like ending the day with something nice and easy, colouring in or sewing, the embroidery. So I have designed my work so that I can incorporate those things.
You said instead of choosing a medium, you try and choose a concept or a theme. How do you choose the concept and the theme? Where does it come from?
Yeah, so sometimes it'll come from working with other people. So I'm working with some Shakespeare researchers at the moment. So the text has become very important to me, and authentic texts, and exploring and finding those texts. That's gone into another whole series that I call Three Little Words, where I've found texts of songwriters and their original songwriting. So everything I do then leads into something else and leads into something else.
Walk me through the process when you find a text. What are you then doing from a technical point of view to get it onto your canvas or your silk or whatever medium? And what medium are you using to put it on?
So yeah, I like using the silk, and I'm using oil pastel transfer at the moment.
Explain oil pastel transfer.
Photocopy something and I put the oil pastel on the back, then I actually draw over it, and then that transfers out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Graphite transfers are the same.
Yeah.
A lot of people will do transfers when they do printmaking.
Yeah.
So it's a standard process.
So tell me where you generally would sit and work, depending on what you're...
I'm very much of the Margaret Olley school.
Which is?
Use the whole house. Go where the light is. Go where you're comfortable. You know, is it warm in your studio today and it's too hot? Go outside, work on the veranda. Is it winter? Is it raining? Is it nice and cosy in your studio? Go there. Do you want to watch something on TV? Do it on your lap in the lounge room.
So the mediums that you're using are quite transferable, as in you can move them around and use them.
So different parts of the process I can do. So when I'm sewing, obviously, I quite like, having my little nest in the lounge room at the end of the day. When I'm working out how to do something and I'm painting, especially something that's really intricate, I'll go into the studio and I will work in the same way that a lot of painters work, at an easel.
When you're about to work and you're, it's 8 o'clock in the morning or it's 8 o'clock at night, are you thinking about lighting and how that affects your work? Do you prefer to work in a particular time of the day or night?
I have got a really good light now that's behind me in the lounge room, so I can actually see really, really well when I'm maybe adding some coloured pencil or doing the sewing.
What about the colours? I know when I'm painting with acrylic, if I'm painting at nighttime with a light, it changes the colour. So I only ever paint during the day, preferably. Is there anything with your silk or any of your paintings where you just can't paint at night, or you just can't paint?
That's right. I don't paint at night. So I'm adding onto the painting so that so when I do the adding the coloured pencil on, that's something I can add coloured pencil on, because I know what the colour is, and I know I've seen it in the daylight, and I know what's that going to look like.
Yep.
And the embroidery silks, I guess I would have checked in the daylight the colour I'm using.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every artist usually has a tool that they love and absolutely can't live without. What's something that you love to use in your creative process?
The thing that I really can't live without is the silk. That's what I can't live without. I buy silk when it's on special. I make sure I always have silk. So I think it's the silk.
What was the draw towards silk? Like, why are you thinking, I want to use silk now?
I know. It's really interesting. When I got married, my mother-in-law, she's a milliner, and she took me to Gardens to buy the fabric for the dress, and it was silk, and it came in brown paper package with string. So, and it was Habuti silk. It's the same silk that I'm using now. So, I don't know. Did it start then? I don't know.
Is silk an expensive material? Like when I go to buy a canvas, I'm like, that's reasonable, okay. But when you go to buy silk, are you like...
I want to say it's very, very expensive. It sounds very luxurious, but in all honesty, it's cheaper than paper.
Oh, really? It's cheaper than watercolour paper or... Wow. And where would you go to purchase silk specifically for art?
Spotlight.
Great.
And I do it online, and it comes and it arrives.
So are you... is there a particular type of silk that you purchase? Obviously, it needs to be just
Habuti silk.
Plain.
Yeah, it's Habuti, very, very fine Habuti silk.
Is it white? Is it clear?
Yes.
Is it?
So I'll go to my drawer with the silk.
Yes.
And show you the silks.
Perfect.
So silks. This is spoiling all of the mystery and the magic.
Wait,
Lisa.
I want to get you opening that.
I just love it. It's like spider's webs. Look, it's everywhere. So this is me spoiling the mystery and the magic.
Wow.
This is the silk. This is the spotlight bag that it comes in.
I love it.
And I've got magnets here. Oh, that's not magnets. Magnets. No, magnets. There we are. The magnets that you can put it up with. Nice and easy.
So the magnets are the things that you were hanging on the wall in the hallway.
Yeah.
So what sort of size silk are you getting?
As big as I possibly can.
How big can they cut it?
So this is the width. So that's the width of the silk. I think is it 1.4, something like that. It's a nice wide fabric, and I can get it as long as I want, a whole bolt if I wanted to.
So when you're starting out with silk, what's your first steps? How are you prepping? Do you have to do anything to prepare the silk? Do you have to do anything for the materials, mediums?
So I think it works. I have done on white silk. I started just white, and that took a long time because, of course, it wasn't primed. You get that lovely watercolour effect. If I'm doing a portrait, I will do that because I want the luminosity to come through the skin, and it's beautiful. But if I'm doing a transfer, I now add a layer of paint first, and I found that a watercolour effect using acrylic paints works really well.
So you're using any sort of acrylic paint. Are you watering the acrylic down for the silk?
Yes, and I tend to use good quality Atelier.
Atelier,
yeah. These are the ones that I use. And I use the translucent ones as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I use a limited palette. So I will use one primary, one colour of each primary to start with, and then I will use another colour.
So your primary, meaning your blue, your red, your yellow?
I'll be very careful about that. I love Payne's grey.
What do you mean one colour? It's like you're just choosing, you're not having like two types of reds or two types of blue. Yeah.
So when I teach my year 7s how to do a landscape, I will say, look at the landscape and what yellow do you see? So in Australia, it's often a yellow ochre, so that'll be your yellow. And then the red will be the alizarin red, the pink on the top of the new gum leaves, and it'll be a cerulean blue for the sky. And those 3 colours, you can make all the colours of the landscape. So if you are just starting out, that's what you do, and they will always work. It's like when you're playing music and you've got the 3 chords. It's always going to sound good. As you get better, then you can increase your accidentals. Now I do usually 2 different primaries. So I have a warm and a cool primary.
And then are you adding any black, any white?
Sometimes I'll add a white, but never black. I make my own blacks. But having said that, as I said, I am a little bit addicted to the Payne's grey, especially when I'm printing. I like to print with the Payne's grey, and that gives me a real printer's sort of aesthetic. Then I can work into that, putting other colours over the top.
How are you making your black from your primaries?
So you can actually make a black using my blues and reds and yellows. You've got to add the yellow, which is really crazy.
So a whole lot of blue?
It's a process. You keep working it in. You keep working it. Probably going to be easier with oil colours than with acrylics, and you just have to experiment until you get what you want. But I get students, grade 11, 12 students do this all the time.
Let's talk about your palette. Do you have a palette that you're mixing colour on?
Oh, I love using paper because then I can use the paper later. Some nice Canston thick paper, and I will have one piece of paper for each artwork I'm doing, and I record the colours, and it becomes almost like a little diary.
So are you laying your primaries directly onto that white paper and then mixing on there as well?
Sometimes I mix, but I like that impressionist method of mixing onto the final work. So I'm glazing really when I'm working with silk. If I'm doing a portrait, it's a glazing layers, yeah.
What do you mean by glazing?
So thin layers. So like maybe I'll do quite a big area of yellow, and then on top of that yellow, often when it's dry, I'll put some other colour on top. Silk doesn't take long to dry, so that's a really good thing about it. But if I get that bleeding effect, I quite like that too.
So when you're mixing your colours, are you putting your blue down, then your red on top of that to get to your purple? Like how are you mixing on the silk? Yeah. So you're mixing it directly onto the silk, yep. And because it's so thin, the glaze effect, you can mix it together?
I would do that on canvas as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So as I said, the silk is great because it's more like paper, but it's strong, it doesn't break, it has that luminosity. I can sew into it. You can sew into paper too, but it's just you have to be so careful with it.
When you're starting and you're like, okay, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do something, I'm going to challenge myself to paint something or do something new on a silk, what's the very first thing you're doing? Are you opening a window to let air in? Are you putting on a music playlist or a podcast? What do you do to get you motivated there?
Often music because recently I've been doing work that matches the research. So if I'm doing one of Bob Dylan's songs, I'll have that one particular song on and drive my husband crazy like all day. It'll be just playing. While I'm doing that work, that's what I'm listening to. So it's really embedded in my brain, and that infuses into the silk. But when I was doing some painting where I may be adding some things, I would be listening to podcasts. Often Talking with Painters. Big call out to Talking with Painters podcast.
Talking with Painters podcast?
Yeah,
I'll have to
Maria Stolja.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Okay, I'll look them up. So you're listening to painters while you're painting. You're listening to Bob Dylan while you're painting Bob Dylan. So that's what you're inspiring. Is there any sort of food or drink or anything else you're fueling yourself prior to starting?
Oh. So, yeah, often I'll have tea and toast in here, especially in winter. Like if I'm working in my studio in winter, I think, make it pleasant for yourself.
What's your go-to tea?
Go-to tea, French Earl Grey.
When you're in your space, are you someone who... Do you find it hard to get into that creative process once you're there, you're okay? Or is it easy for you to get into that?
Yeah, I I've had decades of looking after children and having no time. So now it's just, I can just do stuff when I want to do it. I make myself glad I've got the time. But now, it's just lovely to come in here. Often I have a very clear idea what I do. I've done all my research. I've done that kind of thing beforehand. I have a clear idea of what I want to do, so I can just do it.
Once you're in here, once you're working, are you staying in here all day until it's nighttime? Obviously, you need to eat within that process, or are you coming in and out, going outside?
Yeah, I usually mornings in here if I'm going to work in the studio, or I work out onto the deck. That in a studio way of doing things. Sometimes I'll have to use the computer. I don't like using the computer, but if I have to print something out, I'll have to find it and print it out. So I work full time, so I don't have many days where I've got the whole day in here. But every day I do something. So after work, I come home, I do my piano practice, and then
Love it.
Then I'll have dinner, and then I will do something on my lap.
How are you after a full day of work teaching children?
I know, it's
What,
crazy.
30 children in a classroom?
I sap their energy.
You sap their energy,
I
not
know.
the other way around?
That's the trick.
Oh my gosh, where it's usually the other way around. You usually get sapped.
I know, and for decades it was, but now, I don't know, is it because I'm older?
Okay,
Is it
why
because
that
I
older
don't
one?
have children at home anymore? I'm hoping this lasts because I'm really enjoying teaching at the moment. They come and entertain me. It's lovely.
And you are teaching art. Is
I
that
am
right?
teaching art from prep to grade 12, but I have what we call pastoral care and Thrive, and I do all the stuff that everyone else does.
So normally after a day's work, speaking for myself, the last thing I want to do is then do more art work per se. So is it a way for you to unwind? Is it therapeutic for you?
Sometimes I will have to come home and I'll have to do things on the computer. I'll send out invoices or do all of that business stuff. That does feel like work, and that feels like I just have to do it. Sometimes you just have to do it. Try to leave that to the weekend if I can, but sometimes, I have to do it. But the bit that is lovely is the winding down and the sewing or the colouring on my lap just while I'm watching television.
Love it.
Also means that I can watch a whole series twice and go, oh, I didn't realise that was in there.
When you're working on a piece, and I don't know if you get this, but the messy, ugly stage. Do you go through the messy, ugly stage? If you do, how do you get through it to continue to finish? Because oftentimes starting can be exciting. You have your vision, you start, but then you get into it and you're like, oh my gosh, this does not look how I intended it to. How do you push through that to get to the finish?
So there's a few strategies because I'm working with children and teenagers who get through this all the time. So put it down, go and do something else. Another part of the process, go back and research, develop another idea, reflect on something else, do business, make a cake, do something else. If it has to be done, go back to your sketchbook and maybe take a photograph of it and use your Procreate, solve that problem in another space. Procreate, or the computer technology now, is brilliant for that because you can take a photo and you can actually work out those solutions without damaging the work that you've got in front of you. But if you don't have a computer, use a sketchbook. Try and emulate what you've got. Try and redo it.
Explain Procreate for people who don't know what Procreate
So
is.
I use it on an iPad. So it's a digital thing. So you can import a photograph and then you can use your stylus and then draw over the top, change the colours and have a really good go at solving those visual problems. With children in the classroom, I say go and get a piece of photocopy paper, work out how you're going to do that. Get some more reference material and then go and work it out first and then do it on your finished work.
How do you know when a session's been successful in the studio? Are you leaving happy? How do you know it's been successful after you've been in the studio?
It's a good question, isn't it? Because, I feel like a time well spent, even if it's something, even if I've got to the ugly stage or even if I'm leaving it, it's just like I've done part of my practice. It's a practice, it's a discipline. It's, it's running, it's not that I do that, but I've heard from people who do. It's just putting in that time, knowing or like say piano practice, even though you might not get the piece right, you know that you did that half-hour practice. It's embedded in your brain somewhere. It will come back when you need it, hopefully.
So true. Treat every session as practice.
Mm.
Then you're not so precious about it.
That's right. That's right. It's being who you are, not producing something.
Yep, exactly.
Hey, do you want me to show you something?
Yes, please.
Now there's no judgment.
No judgment ever. We never judge at POT.
Okay, so, all right, here are this is my way that I can do so many paintings and store them. So,
wait, this is incredible. So this is all how many are hanging on there?
oh, all the ones on my website. There'd be over 100 easily. So this is the one that I did of the Mary Cassatt, and these are embroidered drawings that my daughter did when she was little.
Wow. Let me just get
and the original painting is called Breakfast in Bed, and I love it because it's like we know that she's been feeding her child. She's been breastfeeding, hasn't she? And it's like she's exhausted. But like no one else seeing that painting would get that. Only mothers would get that.
Well, that's the thing. Like art speaks to so many different people for so many different reasons. So there's a lot of women who've breastfed.
And so, yes. And anyway, this is the work that I did with the children at the lighthouse. That was just a delight. And I still do lots of things with the lighthouse now, which is just lovely. So I did workshops with children and then took, say, 3 of their works and then smushed them together to make these big silks.
Oh, wow.
And I still teach some of those children and they just... So anyway, that's a lot of those.
That is incredible.
And then, so all these kind of things I've got.
So a wardrobe full of art.
You can see that they move.
Oh, wow, yes.
And these have been artists that have moved me at different times. When I was a young child, I was homeschooled and we had to do had to study Rubens. As an 8-year-old, I was studying Rubens. So this is from one of his portraits. So, and of course, the girl with the pearl earring, and then Klimt,